Welcome to the Explainer. So let me ask you, are you completely tired of the endless, chaotic firefighting? Constantly running around, stressing out, and fixing things only after they break? Well, today we are going to completely transform that chaos into a streamlined, proactive asset management system. We're going to walk step by step through exactly how to build a totally bulletproof maintenance planning flow, drawing directly from our source framework. Okay, let's dive into this. On the left side here, we have breakdown maintenance. This is pure, unadulterated chaos. Honestly, it's incredibly expensive, it's highly stressful, and it basically means your daily operations are completely at the mercy of waiting for a random failure to happen. But then, on the right, we have reliability-centered maintenance. And this right here, this is your superpower. This side is all about control, maximizing your uptime and actively predicting and preventing failure way before it ever brings your facility to a grinding halt. So, how do we get there? Here is our agenda to get you from chaos to control. 1. Mapping your assets. 2. Defining maintenance strategies. 3. Building the playbook. 4. Resourcing and scheduling. And finally, 5. Execution and evolution. Phase 1. Mapping your assets. Knowing exactly what you have and just how critical it is. This phase is really the bedrock foundation of our entire maintenance planning flow. Step 1 is to identify all assets. Literally, this means creating a complete, exhaustive inventory, capturing equipment names, serial numbers, installation dates, and even those specific KKS codes if you happen to be operating in a power plant. Once you've got every single item listed, step 2 is to classify equipment by criticality. You absolutely have to know what matters most to your production line. And then, step 3 is to collect equipment information. Basically, gathering up every OEM manual, piping diagram, electrical drawing, and historical record you can get your hands on. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why Step 2, classification, is so vital. Just look at the differences in criticality. A boiler feed pump is marked critical. If that specific pump fails, your production shuts down entirely, or worse, you've got a severe safety risk on your hands. Now compare that to the office lighting at the bottom, marked non-critical. If a light bulb goes out in the hallway, it has almost zero operational impact, right? You simply cannot afford to spend the same amount of time and resources maintaining a light bulb as you do a critical piece of machinery. It just doesn't make sense. Moving into Phase 2, defining maintenance strategies. Building the right strategy to treat different assets appropriately. Step 4 is where we identify maintenance tasks. Now, this ranges from really basic stuff like routinely wiping down and removing dust from filters, to regular lubrication of bearings, adjusting belt tensions, all the way up to highly complex testing procedures like vibration analysis and thermography. It's really about figuring out the exact physical actions required to keep a specific asset totally healthy. Once you've identified your specific tasks, you hit Step 5, decide maintenance strategy. Think of this as a giant decision matrix. If you've got standard equipment, well, you might just do standard preventative maintenance based on a strict time schedule. But if you're dealing with your heavy hitters, your critical assets, then you strictly apply a strategy like reliability-centered maintenance. You definitely don't apply RCM to a non-critical exhaust fan, right? And right on the heels of this comes Step 6, determine maintenance frequency. Using OEM guidelines and past failure history, you figure out if these strategies need to happen daily, weekly, or maybe in a massive overhaul over 3 years. On to Phase 3, building the playbook, standardizing the actual work with concrete procedures and checklists. Okay, Step 7 is to prepare job procedures. So the absolute crucial point here is this. You cannot leave the actual execution of the work up to interpretation. No way. Your detailed work instructions must include the scope, the exact tools required, the spare parts, safety gear, and super clear acceptance criteria. When you provide your technicians with explicit written instructions, you're guaranteeing absolute consistency and quality every single time they walk up to a machine. And the highly tangible output of this phase is Step 8, prepare maintenance checklists. An actionable, totally foolproof checklist prevents critical, tiny steps from being skipped or forgotten on a really busy day. Measure insulation resistance, measure vibration, tighten the terminals. Having it laid out like this takes the guesswork completely out of the equation. Phase 4, resourcing and scheduling. Gathering the ammo, which means your resources, spare parts, and your safety plans. The sequence of operations here is incredibly strict for a very good reason. Step 9 is to estimate resources, figuring out exactly what manpower you need, like specific specialized technicians, and what tools you need, like a thermal camera.
Next is step 10, estimate duration. You have to know exactly how long the work is going to take. Because, honestly, only after you have those two pieces of the puzzle can you logically execute step 11, schedule maintenance. And running parallel to all of this, before you start any actual physical work, is step 12, prepare spare parts plan. You absolutely must identify your critical spares, figure out your safety stock, and know your reorder lead times so you aren't left waiting 3 weeks for a specialized mechanical seal while production is at a dead stop.
Mapping all this out on a calendar is what prevents massive operational bottlenecks. For example, a basic pump inspection takes maybe 1 hour, and motor lubrication takes just 30 minutes. You can easily squeeze those into a standard, normal daily plan. But a full compressor overhaul, that's estimated at 16 solid hours. If you don't schedule that properly in an annual turnaround plan with all the right resources ready to go, it is going to be an absolute costly disaster. Now, before a single wrench is even turned, we hit step 13, prepare safety plan. Let me be absolutely clear about this. This is completely non-negotiable. Every single maintenance plan must include a job safety analysis, permits to work, and most critically, LOTO, lockout, tagout. This procedure ensures the equipment is totally depowered, physically locked off, and literally cannot be restarted while someone is working on it. This step isn't just about operational efficiency. We are quite literally talking about protecting human lives. Finally, phase 5, execution and evolution. Executing the plan, recording the data, and using KPIs to continuously improve. Step 14 is to execute the maintenance plan. But notice, it is absolutely not a free-for-all. It's a very strict, logical, physical sequence. You start by issuing the formal work order and verifying all your permits. Then you isolate the equipment and apply that life-saving LOTO we just went over. Only then do you actually perform the maintenance. Afterwards, you test the equipment to make sure it's functioning perfectly. And finally, you safely return it to service. Now, once the physical work is done, you can't just pack up your toolbox and walk away. Step 15 is to record maintenance history. You must document exactly who did the work, what specific parts were replaced, the exact time it took, the cost, and the overall condition of the equipment as you found it. Think of this as building a vital, ongoing health record for your entire facility. Because without this history logged, you are essentially flying blind when it comes time to plan for next month or next year. And we use that health record directly in step 16, monitor key performance indicators, or KPIs. Now, what's really interesting about this step is that tracking these heavy-hitting acronyms like MTBF for mean time between failures, MTTR for mean time to repair, and OEE for overall equipment effectiveness is how you achieve true continuous operational evolution. By reviewing these specific metrics on a regular basis, you spot hidden failure trends and you can actively improve the efficiency of your entire maintenance program. To wrap all this up, our source distills this whole step-by-step process into a few core best practices. Always, always prioritize your maintenance based on equipment criticality. Please don't waste precious time over-maintaining non-critical assets. Follow your OEM guidelines, standardize your job plans using software like a CMMS, and religiously keep your critical spare parts in stock. The entire philosophy we've drawn from the material today is that a structured, upfront investment in planning ultimately prevents those catastrophic, middle-of-the-night failures and massively optimizes your operational costs. Which leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to consider. Are you controlling your equipment, or is your equipment controlling you? With a proper maintenance plan in place, it's finally time to ditch the reactive firefighting and step into a real place of proactive mastery. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.